Chapter 6, Problem Solving and Need Recognition Techniques within Entrepreneurship. Pretty straightforward chapter. Going to breeze through. What you're going to see is a lot of ideas repeating and kind of building upon one another. So the first thing you have to do in entrepreneurial problem solving is, well, what is the problem? Define the problem. What is your idea for solving the problem? And what skills do you have? And more importantly, what skills do you not have and have to figure out a way to obtain to be able to offer a viable solution to the problem you identified? Along the way, you're going to identify, who your problem solvers are. One of them is certainly going to be you, but you're going to have some partners on this journey. So, entrepreneurial problem solving is the process using innovation, creative solutions to close the gap by resolving societal, business, or technological problems. A lot of problems are stuff we don't see at work. It's stuff we see when we come home from work. Keep that in mind too. So, two problem-solving models, adaptive and innovative. An adaptive model seeks solutions for problems in ways that are tested and known to be effective. So you take something you know works and you adapt it to solve the problem that you've identified. Now, an innovative model is more creative and it involves true entrepreneurial problem solving. So to do that, you're coming up with new ideas. You're not just adapting old models, you're bringing in new models. You're creating new models and techniques to solve a problem. So it's unknown to the market. And that brings you an advantage to your organization because you're truly an innovator under the innovative model. So, what kind of problem solving skills do we need in our toolbox here to be able to solve entrepreneurial problems? You need to be able to evaluate some details. You need to be able to communicate. You need to be able to act on solutions. Some people are just idea people. Some people are action people. The best type of entrepreneurs are the ones that have ideas and action. So you have to be decisive. You need the ability to analyze data. This is something that I'm going to be pushing more and more in this course. Okay, you have this theory that you have this market that you want to serve. Well, tell me about that market. What's your data? Tell me somehow how data can support that, number one, there is enough of a problem, and number two, you have a viable solution. You're going to have to reach out, and first you're probably going to get secondary data in that you've obtained it from some website or something, but you're also going to have to be able to create, before this course is up, some original data, some primary data, some data that you created. You reached out to X number of potential customers, and this is what they said. That's original data. You're going to have business and industry awareness. Can't create a business that nobody wants. Again, that kind of ties into data, but that's also in terms of that's business awareness. You have to be resourceful as all get out and be a good critical thinker. So what are some of these things? Critical thinking is complex analysis of a problem or issue with a goal of solving that problem or making a decision. Basically, you can think things through. There aren't glaring weaknesses that you haven't thought of. For example, if you need a license to sell alcohol, or you need a certification to be a financial planner, that type of thing. You have to critically think, what is my timeline there? How am I going to attain these things? And what is the problem? So if you want to be in manufacturing jeans, okay, who's going to make the jeans? Are you? Are you going to be able to scale that up? You'd have to be able to critically think through your process. Then you're going to have to be able to communicate. Again, interesting read here on the hackathon, which a bunch of hackers get together and solve problems, and they usually come up with some kind of new software. Networking is incredibly important with communication. There's a little bit of a graphic down here. You might be this guy or gal way over here, and this person down here is the person that is the key to your success. So you've got to know people who know people, and you've got to be willing to communicate so you can get to this person. So you guys or gals can make a ton of money. Maybe it's not just about a ton of money. Maybe you guys can solve a huge problem and make a ton of people better off, which hopefully allows you to make a ton of money. Got carried away here with the mouse, pardon me. Decisiveness. The ability to make quick, effective decisions, not letting too much time go by in the process. Decisiveness can be good and bad. I tend to be a decisive person, but I'm also, I like to think I think things through before I do it, but I do act aggressively. And sometimes that can get me in trouble because I don't always think things through. So you got to make sure you're thinking things through. You got to look before you leap, but doggone it, you got to leap. You got to be decisive. You got to say, dadgummit, at the end of the day, I might not know about this, but I'm going to go do it. That's an entrepreneur. They take on risk. Now, how do you minimize risk? You analyze data. Data analysis is the process of analyzing data and modeling it into a structure that leads to innovative conclusions. I need you to prove to me data-wise that there's a problem that you're going to solve. And I need you to provide me some data that your solution is going to be attractive to the market. Now, the problem being something that needs to be solved, that's generally a secondary data thing, data that already exists. Your solution being marketable, being viable, that's probably a primary data type thing. So you're going to need to be able to reach out to some of your potential customers to prove that. You need to understand the business and the industry. You can't just say, hey, I'm just going to jump in this business and not know anything about the industry that houses it. You need to know. You might be proposing something that already exists, or worse, proposing something that someone's already tried and failed at. Got to be resourceful, all right? It's the ability to discover clever solutions to obstacles. You have to be constantly thinking of a better way to run your business. That is the most clever thing you could do. When you're resourceful, you take what you have and get more out of it each and every day. Some other service course or retired executive score, small business administration. They provide a lot of free resources to aspiring entrepreneurs. So retired executive score, that's actually, you can bend the ear of some people who have some experience once you get in their program, and they can give you some great advice. Small business administration, you can get loans, grants, all kinds of things through them. So once you take a look at them, they might be a solution to some of your fundraising problems or some of your shortcomings. If you identify, here's what I do well, here's what I don't do well, how do I solve those things that are not going to be solved by me? How do I do that? Well, you might could reach out to some of those resources. Self-regulating problem solvers. So these are types of problem solvers. These are loners. These are people who figure out things on their own, but eventually you still got to go to market. Okay. Theorist problem solvers are people who see a problem, they have an idea of what might solve it, and then they test it. So they're very scientific method based. Okay. Identify a problem, implement a theory, rise at a solution. Did it work? Petitioner problem solvers see a problem and they ask others for solutions or ideas. They might have their own idea what might work, but then they're smart enough to involve other people because you know what? Other people see things from different perspectives. Okay? That's one of the, I want to be someone you petition in this class as you build your business models moving forward. That's the whole point of our conversations. I might actually have a few of you team up on a few things because some of you have solutions to other people's problems. So be ready for that. That's petitioning problem solver. You reach out to other people. You meet with other people. Okay, you identify a problem, you discuss problems with others, and you find a solution that's agreeable with others. Why? Because if it's agreeable to them, that might be a product you can sell, product or service. Creative problem-solving process. I feel like we're just really coming out of this. In the other chapter, we were talking about creativity, and we started talking about the different methods that we could use for creativity, mind mapping, that type of thing. But basically, as you're getting creative, step one, clarify what's the problem. All right. Then start building ideas around here, mind mapping, that type of thing. Develop those ideas, take a few things out of there and say, hey, this might work, and go ask some people and see if it'll work. Get one or two things that might work. Try to implement them on a trial basis, like a minimum viable product. We were talking about with Eric Reese last week. And then evaluate how that came about. And did it work well? What worked well? What did not work well? How can we make it better? Sometimes you have to go all the way back to the beginning. Sometimes you just come back to ideate. Sometimes you just use a development issue or an implementation issue. You have to be clever, resourceful, and critically thinking your way through this. Step one, you're clarifying. You're trying to figure out exactly what the gap is between the current problem and the potential solution. You need to be aware of what the true need is. This, honestly, I think about this in my sales career. When I was working in home health and hospice, I was selling going home with a nurse or going home to be comfortable to live out the rest of your days. A lot of people try to sell hospice by selling it to the patient. The patient really doesn't have a choice in that. The doctors aren't going to treat them anymore. It's kind of morbid. I get it. But you know who I sold, and I did a darn good job of this? I was aware that the person making the choice was not the patient. It was the person's nurse case manager. It was the person managing their discharge from the hospital. I sold them. And what was their need? Did they need hospice? No. You know what they needed? They needed to call me and know the job was done and they're going to be able to take their kid to baseball practice that day. That's need awareness. Sometimes you might be selling donuts, but you're not really selling donuts. You're selling the experience around donuts. You might be selling convenience that come with donuts. So keep in mind, your business might not be a gym. It might be the concept around the gym that's built. Okay? It might not be a restaurant. It might be the convenience of a rolling restaurant or a restaurant where you don't have to wait, that type of thing. Okay? So keep that in mind. I'll let you read through these different formulations of ideas here. Ideate. This is where we put all of our ideas out. Then we develop a few of them out of that. We implement them. Then we evaluate what worked, what didn't work. How do we have to start all over? Or do we have like one thing that might work and we can bulk that up? So, using creativity to solve problems, crowdsourcing, that's getting together with other people and saying, hey, I have this potential business idea, give me feedback. I'm here to tell you. People are like, well, I don't want to tell you my business idea, you might steal it. People are inherently lazy, but that's no reason for you to be stupid, okay? You certainly don't want to give away your secret recipe for your chicken, right, KFC? But you also need to get feedback from your potential customers or else you're going to waste a ton of time building something no one wants. Crowdsourcing, actually, there's a method of raising money through crowdsourcing. So that's a potential. Take a look at that. Crowdsourcing the potato chip. Talks about Lay's here in PepsiCo. Do you remember when Doritos would let you pick a flavor and then they announced what the new flavor was going to be at on the Super Bowl? All right, that's how we got some of these new Dorito flavors for real. Brainstorming is a generation of ideas in an environment free of judgment and dissension with the goal of creating solutions. When you're brainstorming, there's no bad ideas. Seriously. You shouldn't poo-poo anybody's ideas if you're with people and you're brainstorming. All right. After the fact, you can do viability and scratch out some. But when you're trying to get all the ideas on paper, every idea is a good idea. Okay. Storyboarding. This is something that you can literally print out and say, do step by step. The example you're given here is a cell phone app or something and how it's going to work. Like the first one on the left is like the first screen, second screen, third screen, fourth screen. Literally, what will it look through? If you can visually walk yourself through the process, okay, I'm going to open up a coffee shop and they're going to come through the door and then go left and then go right and then do this. You can identify different opportunities to serve those customers better before you actually put them through that. So keep that in mind. Creativity. You're so much better with other people. I have found, I'm blessed with two wonderful children. I have found sometimes when I'm having a creative block, I just go play with my kids a little bit and the ideas start coming. I can even ask my kid, hey, what do you think of this? And they're like, no, why don't you do it this way? And it's like, genius. I'm like, why didn't I think of it that way? So don't underestimate creativity when it comes to go have some fun. I've always told people in economics, if you get a problem, you're on the homework and you can't solve a problem, go outside, walk around the building, come back. That really gets the creative juices going. Design thinking, it's really kind of an elegant approach. There is a ton of free information at Stanford University's design school, especially on entrepreneurship, creativity, and invention. They have a ton of exercises there. Take a look at their design thinking process. So, design thinking is a method to focus the design and development decisions of a product on the needs of a customer, typically involving empathy-driven process to define the complex problems and create solutions that address problems. Now, this is kind of like, all right, let's make things simple and then gradually make it more complicated. But when we take something complicated and make it simple in pieces, we can figure it out and then we can piece it together, okay? Remember up here where we were talking about this with this little cell phone model here where we were going step by step? I can tell you right now, this is not a simple solution. This is a very complex creation of an app, but look how they've broken it down into more manageable pieces. You do the same thing. Again, if you're having a restaurant, I want to know what it's like to walk through the door. Take me every step. All right? Think through that design, how your restaurant's set up. Think through that design, how your gym's set up. Think through that design, how your food truck's set up. Think through that design, how your financial firm is set up, okay? Center it on humans. HCD, human-centered design. I can speak. So you have inspiration. What's your inspiration for your business and how you have it set up? Your ideation, how's it going to, what are your ideas? What are your thought bubbles there? And then implementation. Sometimes your inspiration gets lost in ideation, your ideation lost in implementation. And sometimes you have these crazy inspirations and ideation that cannot be implemented. So you have to let those three things work together. You have to design it from A through Z. Again, I got happy with the mouse here. Apologize. Let you take a look at that. Human-centered design. Basically empathize. Okay? Put yourself in your customer's shoes. That's empathy. All right? How is the solution that you're offering going to affect them? If you're going to offer clothing for people who typically can't find clothing, that's already empathy. That's a hell of a good start. Now define more of what the core problem is and what you're going to do about it. Ideate about what you're going to do about it. All right? Then start prototyping. All right? Create some way to test your idea, be it survey, be it interview, be it actually producing a good and seeing if people buy it or what they think of it, having like a sample and what they think of it. If you're trying to do like a makeup, if you can find a way to do a prototype and maybe go to like, I have some people interested in doing makeup for darker skin folks. If you could go to say Ulta, I'm assuming that place is still open. My wife loves that place. If you could pull, from the fringes, some things that they don't have enough of, but basically make yourself like a little, I want to say briefcase of that makeup product, and then pull a couple people who might be your ideal candidates and say, what would you think if this was your selection on a grander scale? You will get fantastic feedback from that prototype. That's what I'm talking about. Test it as best you can. See how people like it. Maybe do a few free trials for some people. I've got some people who are looking car detailing and everything. If anybody wants to, wash my truck for free, I'll give you some feedback. No, you don't want me because I'm not third party. Although I probably could pay you to clean my truck there, guy. So keep that in mind. Some design thinking tools. Again, you can have complex and simple. I really want you to break it down into simple steps, okay? And then make it more complex. All right? There's some great examples in here. Lean processes. This kind of spurns off of what we were talking about last week with Eric Ries when we were talking about the lean startup and potential and in particular the minimum viable product. If you'd like a good book as an entrepreneur, the lean startup is where to go. Okay? Eric Ries, R-E-I-S, Eric Ries, the lean startup is all about lean processes. And his biggest thing is the minimum viable product. So what is a lean process? Systematic method of maximizing continuous improvement, minimization of surplus or unused material in the product. Basically, you use as little as possible. All right? Your product doesn't have to be a Rolls Royce right off of the assembly line. It can start out as a skateboard, if you know what I'm saying. All right? You have to be aware of your external environment, which is everyone outside your company, customers, industry trends, competition, versus your internal environment, which is things you can somewhat control within your environment, such as employees, internal practices, and processes. Lean manufacturing, for example, improving efficiencies in internal environment should lead to advantages in the external environment. So if you get better on the inside, it should be better on the outside. Things that are happening on the outside should affect what's happening on the inside. You have to have awareness. Yeah, so this chapter kind of keeps building upon itself. There's some great examples here. I'm going to let you keep reading about that, especially about the UPS driver. That's pretty cool. So again, clarify a problem, analyze the problem, get some data, set some targets. What are you trying to do? Identify what's causing the problem and how you can address it. Develop countermeasures by asking, what is the specific change that we want to see? So how can I solve the problem? Implement these solutions. Monitor results. Seek feedback. Then start standardizing your processes through the lean process. So A lot of people want to say, hey, here's how everything's going to work, and they get zero feedback from their customers, and then they line up in your bakery, and it's just a mess from day one. You've got to be able to pivot and move quickly. You've got to be nimble. Lean problem solving phases, you're going to have observation where you're watching to see what's going on. You're going to make some assessments. You're going to evaluate, and then you're going to adjust. All right. When you're adjusting, sometimes whiteboarding is helpful. It's basically putting everything up on a whiteboard, piece of paper, something. You guys have learned this through making the mind maps. That just helps to get all that information out there. Well, this is an organized way of getting it out there. You start here, you move here, you go there, then this happens. It allows you to do your design thinking on a much more simplified level. But if you could set up your restaurant, set up your card detailing business, set up your makeup business, set up whatever it is you guys are trying to do. There's so many great ideas in this class right now. I'm loving it. Lay it out for me, man. Lay it out for me. While I'd prefer everything to be typed up, if you want to send a snapshot along with it and saying, hey, here's what I'm working through, this shows me that you're processing the information. Don't be afraid to send this to me, okay? Entrepreneur in Action, I'm going to let you read about that. Henry Ford, Toyota actually came in, as in, Kichiro Toyota, spelled with a D, ends up being Toyota. And this is, by the way, pre-World War II. This was like in between the two World Wars. They actually used some of Henry Ford's ideas through Toyota to start building like Japanese tanks and stuff. That kind of came back to bite us. And that is our chapter on problem solving, need recognition techniques, blah, blah, blah. Wednesday night, you have your next part of your business plan due. We're trying to do this in pieces, so the more effort that you do, so I want more of an in-depth description with some data now. Some of you guys aren't doing the reading and it's showing. You're getting reading quizzes of like 30, okay? Not cool, all right? That's definitely going to hurt your overall average. Keep in mind, I'm actually expecting you to read. And hopefully you're listening to this lecture, which is reminding you to read. All right? So, you guys, you can get so many great ideas from the reading. Now, keep in mind, we have a chapter on a business plan, and I've linked it in this week's announcement. It's also in the syllabus as a recommendation for materials that you can jump ahead around in this book because it might be able to help you with this week's assignment. So keep in mind you got that on Wednesday, the business description. Okay, this is not your business idea anymore. I want more of a description. What kind of problems are you solving? What needs do you have? I need to start seeing some more in-depth analysis on your part. I also need you to do this reading, watch this video, and just start crushing those quizzes. I promise you, I made those over the summer. It's not that difficult if you're actually doing the reading. Hope you guys are having a blessed day. Take care. Let me know. Oh, by the way, I'm looking forward to talking to you guys in this coming week or so. My schedule is up through Acuity Scheduling. You got a link this week. It's also posted announcements in Brightspace. Get in there. We just need about a 20-minute touching of base on your business. Everyone's required to do this as part of your participation, but you need to get in there on your schedule. Thank you.